Hello, my name is Gene Hardy, and I'm an assistant professor of media and information at Michigan State University. Today, I'm presenting our paper, LGBTQ Futures and Participatory Design, Investigating Visibility, Community, and the Future of Future Workshops. In the ethnographic tradition, I like to start my presentations with a bit of a vignette. Walking down the sidewalk that could belong to any small town in the United States, a group of visibly queer and trans young people enter a storefront covered in rainbow flags. This group is hoping to spend their evening in the Cat Cafe, an LGBTQ bookstore, or maybe even on the dance floor of a gay club. After pitching their ideas in the business lobby, the group settles on a cat cafe and are ushered into a nondescript door. At first glance, the large room they find themselves in is mostly empty, a few chairs and coffee tables, some coffee cups, and an espresso machine. Hanging on the wall next to the door are headsets and gloves, and without needing instruction, the group starts putting on the equipment. The first to finish turns around and squeals, running across the room to one of the coffee tables. She kneels and starts making petting motions a foot above the table. As the rest of the group finishes putting on the equipment, they break into groups, some of them joining the friend petting air, others taking orders and working at the espresso machine. It's so realistic, I can feel her purring. "I'll take a decaf Americano." "I'm naming the orange one Ariana Grande." The room this group enjoys is embedded with AR/VR technology. The headset populates the field of vision with virtual cats and lavish decorations. The equipment works together to provide stimuli to the users, such as the vibrations one feels when petting a purring cat. Sensors are embedded around the room, activating new stimuli and experiences as the friends wander around the room, enjoying their evening together. This unfortunately fictional vision of an alternative social space was one of the ideas that came out of the LGBTQ Futures Project, a series of participatory design workshops conducted with LGBTQ people living in the rural Midwestern United States. The vignette represents a flexible social space that allowed for LGBTQ people to come together and enjoy a night out with their friends. Visibility and community building are complex and important processes for LGBTQ people living in rural places, where they often don't have the population to sustain safe physical spaces or public life. To work around these issues, LGBTQ people turn to the internet and social technologies. Yet, social technologies for LGBTQ people are frequently designed for urban locations rather than rural ones. What the vignette reflects is the purpose of our project, to better understand the social and resource-focused needs of rural LGBTQ people through the lens of social technologies. Much of the existing research on LGBTQ people in HCI focuses on understanding the role of visibility LGBTQ people have on social technologies. One concept that appears prominently is selective visibility. Others have described selective visibility as key for LGBTQ people on social media who want to, quote, be out on their own terms and control when they are seen as LGBTQ and by whom. Selective visibility has also been used to make sense of the visibility of online communities as a whole, and, quote, how that visibility affects that community's safety and ability to function as a support space for marginalized people. While visibility is an important tool for facilitating community building and resource access, visibility, of course, brings with it additional concerns, especially with respect to privacy and safety. It's this tension between visibility and safety that we explore in this presentation. For other outcomes on this research, especially with respect to future workshops as a tool, please see the corresponding paper. Our research was guided by the questions, what are the technological and informational needs of rural LGBTQ people, and how would social technologies look different, if at all, if they were designed by rural LGBTQ people? Our workshops were based on the Future Workshops method and divided into two halves. In the first half, participants discussed where and who were a part of their LGBTQ communities and identified community-level problems facing LGBTQ people. In the second half, participants were provided with physical materials and asked to create low-fidelity mock-ups of social technologies 25 years in the future, with the idea that these technologies would address one of the problems identified in the first half. We conducted 6 workshops with 37 participants in total in 3 locations to ensure geographic diversity among different types of rural communities. For today's presentation, I'll discuss the findings from our section, Walking the Line Between Visibility and Safety. Participants in our workshops overall wanted to connect with others like them in person, but were also deeply concerned about staying safe in the process. Multiple mock-ups responded to this need for discretion using the idea of gaydar, or, in other words, gaydar is a portmanteau of the words gay and radar, which is used to refer to the ability to identify if someone else is gay without explicit disclosure. For example, one group came up with what they called rainbow glass, augmented reality glasses which would highlight other LGBTQ people in the wearer's field of vision. Another group came up with a wearable gaydar bracelet that notifies the wearer of nearby LGBTQ others by vibrating. Often the technologies presented were designed to be discreet. For example, users of the gaydar bracelet could choose to show a rainbow flag, or they could leave it looking like a normal nondescript bracelet. Users of rainbow glass would be given the option to opt out into the locational gaydar services rather than it be turned on by default. The visibility of safe physical spaces for LGBTQ people was also a recurring theme. For example, some participants in the workshops felt that supportive businesses in the rural regions were less likely to engage in visible supportive behavior, like putting a rainbow sticker in their shop window, as it might negatively impact their business. Others wanted ways to discover more accurate information about LGBTQ-friendly places in the region. Multiple mock-ups sought to address these issues. For example, AskQ, pictured here, was a chatbot program that maintained a listing of LGBTQ-friendly spaces which users could view on a map-based interface. Other design ideas sought to address the lack of actual physical spaces for LGBTQ people in the region by creating businesses which had permanent physical locations. For example, the customizable AR/VR storefront from the introduction utilized immersive technology to make a single storefront into a viable business which could serve multiple community wants and needs. By framing the workshops in terms of design and technology, we came to understand how current technologies did not and could not support the needs of LGBTQ people in sparsely populated, resource-poor rural areas. Our findings show, among other things, major gaps in rural LGBTQ people's abilities to find others like them in the region, to find safe spaces in which to meet, and to find local resources and information to support their specific needs. The mock-ups created by these participants showed glimpses into an alternate present in which existing technologies could be used to fill those gaps. While our participants provided us with a rich and deeply nuanced data set to better understand the community and technological needs of rural LGBTQ people, we focus here on the tension that is ever present, that of balancing the need for safety with the need for visibility. Returning to prior work, selective visibility not only allows LGBTQ people to be out on their own terms, but helps us understand how these communities navigate visibility and safety more broadly. While prior research in this space focuses on obscuring disclosures and trace data and designing for the privacy concerns of LGBTQ people, much of what we present here instead focuses on new ways to make visible rather than to hide. There is, of course, always a tension between being visible as a queer person and being safe as a queer person. And many of our participants thought constructively about being visible in different ways that reflected their geography. From new businesses that use AR/VR technology to create malleable and multi-purpose spaces, to a multitude of wearables that enable discrete connections, or maybe not so discrete connections, with LGBTQ others. Our research participants found inspiration and necessity in conflicting and multifaceted visibilities. Thank you very much for the opportunity to publish and present this research at CSCW 2022, and I look forward to interfacing with many of you at the conference.